Hello, seniors and senior parents. This is the presentation from our Senior Summit Night for the class of 2023. We would like to take a moment to introduce ourselves. Your counselors are Mrs. Jones, and she has alphabet A through G, Mrs. Walker, last names H through PA, and Mrs. Hackfeld, PE through Z. So what we covered in the presentation, we covered staying connected and just events that have been happening, college visits, application information, testing information, letters of recommendation, scholarships, our Tarleton-Aledo partnership, and some financial aid information. Here are a few of the ways you can stay connected to the Aledo High School Counseling Office and just Aledo High School in general. One of the ways you can stay connected for events for the class of 2023 is to follow our website and to check it regularly. You can also join our Aledo High School Counseling Department Facebook page and also our Aledo High School Facebook page. And then always check your weekly newsletter from Ms. Timms called the AHS in the Know. It usually comes out on Monday mornings. There will be lots of information delivered throughout the year through that website. Some parents like to join the class of 2023 page on Facebook. It is not a school-sponsored page. It is a parent-run page, but a lot of times there's a lot of information that gets pushed out that way as well. So let's get started. Let's talk about the path to college and where you start. So last week we had a college fair on our campus. We had about 85 colleges represented at the college fair. Your student got to go through the college fair and get information, so ask your student for more details about what they learned at the college fair. We also have several college representatives who come to the high school during the students' lunches and visit, so please watch for announcements on that and have your students always be checking the front by the counseling office to see what colleges are there. One of the things that we do encourage students to do is to take college visits. It's good to get on the campus and actually get a feel for the college and get to visit classrooms and dorms, etc. One of the things that you'll need to do is make an appointment in order to go to the college visit. You don't need to make that appointment with us. You would make it with the college. Then you also could check for preview days. Preview days are days where they have large amounts of students come and tour. Usually they're of the same age, and they'll have all of their departments come out and share, and you'll get lots of tours of the campus. Make sure when you go to visit a college, you're bringing a list of questions. You get 2 college days each school year, so you had 2 last year as a junior, and you get 2 this year as a senior. So make sure you get signed up for those college visits. When you go to the college, make sure you receive a note that will excuse you, and then bring it back to our attendance office so it can get excused by Mrs. Kaiser. We have published a list of some of our more popular schools and some of the preview days they will be having this fall. We encourage you to take a look at this. This is on our website. You can also find it on our Aledo High School Counseling Department Facebook page. Let's talk about what counts in admissions. So when you're applying to college, there are a lot of factors that go into your application. So as you can see, one of the biggest things that colleges are looking at are your grades. So they're looking for what challenging classes did you take? Have you taken any AP? Have you taken pre-AP, dual credit on-ramps? What have you done to prepare yourself for the rigor of college? And what were your grades like in those classes? Another thing that can help you a lot in college admissions is your SAT or your ACT scores. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the presentation. Also, just in general, grades in all of your classes. Class rank, you will have an essay for many colleges, and then some colleges will accept letters of recommendation. So one of the things that you have to determine when you are deciding what you are going to do for college is whether or not something is a good fit. So you want to make sure that what you want in a college, what you can control, and what the college provides that's something you cannot control, is a good fit. So you want to make sure what you're looking for and what the college has is a good fit for you. So how can you get admitted into college? So in the state of Texas, if you are in the top 10% of the class and you apply to a public Texas school, you do have automatic admissions. Unless you are applying to UT Austin, they only guarantee admission for the top 6% of the class. There's another way to get admitted called assured admission. And typically the way that assured admissions works is you'll look and see what the college will probably have some kind of a qualification that would grant you admission right away. And typically that goes through either your class rank or your GPA and a test score. So they'll look at that to say, this is what we would require, and you could automatically be admitted this way. Holistic review is another thing you'll hear talked about. Most private universities will always have a holistic review. That means they're looking at you as a whole student. So what were your grades like? What extracurricular activities were you in? What do your letters of recommendation look like? They want to look at you as a whole student rather than just numbers and test scores. There are some public colleges that are going to more of a holistic review. And then there's also transfer admission. A lot of students, if they don't get into that dream school that they've always wanted to go into, will start somewhere and then work to keep up their college GPA in order to transfer into the school that they want to be at. Okay, so let's go through the application steps. So step one would be to apply. In Texas four-year schools use an application website called www.goapplytexas.org. Private schools use something called Common Application, www.commonapp.org. And then some out-of-state schools will just use their own system, and so you just have to go to their website in order to apply. What you will find is a lot of out-of-state schools also use the Common Application, and a lot of Texas schools, even public or private, will use the Go Apply Texas. So you want to try to look at the applications to see which one covers most of your schools and use that one. But the reality is you may have a couple of application systems that you have to use. The great thing is you only have to put your information in usually one time to send it to numerous schools. We always like you to apply between September 1st and Thanksgiving. We are going to be holding some application help sessions during Flex. We will have that opportunity in the DLC, so be watching for those signups through Mrs. Tim's newsletter and our website. So step 2 would be to request your transcript through our program called Major Clarity. Major Clarity is kind of a one-stop shop for all things college and career. So you can do college searches on there, and career searches. You can do personality tests that will match you to certain careers and colleges. But this is also where students will request their letters of recommendation, and they will request their transcripts to be sent through our Major Clarity program. This is located in your student's Launchpad. So if they go to their Launchpad, there's an app with an MC. It's an automatic login. We would encourage you to have your student open their computer and just kind of go through this Major Clarity together. Step 3, some colleges do require letters of recommendation. If you are going to a private school, then they will require at least one letter of recommendation. Public schools sometimes will allow you to send letters of recommendation, but sometimes public schools don't like to have those at all. So you just kind of have to look from school to school to see what they require in terms of letters of recommendation. Please make sure you give plenty of notice, at least 2 weeks. Talk to your teacher face-to-face, and then send them an official invitation to upload a letter of recommendation through your Major Clarity. And just remember that letters are usually not released to a student or a parent. Those are typically confidential. Step 4, testing, SAT and ACT. Many schools have gone to something called test optional. This means that you don't have to take the SAT or the ACT in order to be admitted. We highly encourage that you take the SAT and the ACT at least once, and then choose one test to focus on. Many colleges will look at this, but it won't hurt you in your admissions, but it could help you. Many colleges also require the SAT or the ACT score in order to be considered for scholarships. So we are encouraging that you still take this SAT and ACT test. So we kind of went over the test optional piece. Remember that each college is different in what they're looking for those test scores. And so it would be very important for you to kind of look through your college's website just to see what their average is or what they might require or if they are test optional. Step 5 would be completing the FAFSA. So the FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So this is now a Texas state graduation requirement. We have to put this on their transcript. If you wish to not fill out the FAFSA, then you can do a waiver. The FAFSA is how a college determines what kind of money they can give you in terms of need, but also in terms of financial assistance in the way of scholarships or loans. So if you are taking any kind of financial aid through a college, they will want this FAFSA on file. It is in your students' best interest to fill this out just to see what kind of funds they could get for college. Step 6, scholarships. So we know that the hot topic is how am I going to pay for college? The biggest dollar amount of scholarships will come directly from the institution itself. So what you want to be doing is looking at their financial aid section websites of the colleges to see what they would provide, because there are some scholarships that will be automatic, but there are also some that you might have to apply for on top of those automatic scholarships. You also need to make sure that there's not a separate application for scholarships. So please just be watching that as you are looking at your college websites and be watching those deadlines. We also send out a scholarship newsletter each month. We keep that updated. It is a Google link. Sometimes you'll see it as a PDF, but you can always find it as a Google link on our website. So please be watching that throughout the year. That is where we will also house our local scholarships for you to apply for. So this is an example from Texas Tech of a merit scholarship and what their qualifications are. So if you see on one side, it says the SAT or ACT scores. And then on the top, it says where you are in your high school rank or like what quartile you might be in. And so wherever you fall in your class and whatever SAT or ACT score is, this is the amount of money you could get per year. So this is just an example. Many schools will do this differently, but this is just an example of a chart that you might find to see what kind of scholarship money you could receive. Also, when you are applying to out-of-state schools, you want to look at out-of-state tuition waivers. So a lot of times when you're out of state, if you have good enough grades or you have good enough test scores, you can get a pretty significant amount off of your tuition. And sometimes it can even equal an in-state tuition. So you always want to look at that for your out-of-state schools. It used to be that all of our bordering states had kind of a partnership. That really is no longer. But what they do is they publish what they could give you off for your out-of-state tuition just based on maybe GPA or SAT or ACT scores. So always be looking for that as well. We do have a partnership with Tarleton State University. We have a guaranteed admission partnership and also a guaranteed scholarship partnership. So if your student meets certain criteria, they could automatically be admitted. And then if they meet another type of qualification, they could actually get a guaranteed scholarship. So if you go and do any visits at Tarleton, we would highly encourage you to ask them about their partnership with Aledo High School. We have had several students who have taken advantage of this and gone to Tarleton State. These are just a few other scholarship websites that you can look into. Just be careful when you're looking at scholarship websites. You don't want to fall into the trap of just clickbait. Sometimes you can get on websites that really just want your information. So just be watching and making sure that you're going through a credible source. Okay, we do know that the college experience does not look the same for everyone. There are a lot of students that we have who start at a community college, a two-year college, and then they transfer to a university later. So some of the benefits of that, obviously a community college is going to be more affordable. The tuition rates are much less than a university. Some students want to live close to home, and so they'll stay at a community college. Some students want to live at home, and many four-year colleges require you to live on their campus. So there are many different reasons that you might go to a community college. A big one is some students don't know if college is for them. And so instead of going and spending a lot of money, you should take a couple of classes at a community college and see if it's something that is for you. And some students just need kind of a stepping stone into that four-year college. So community college is a great option. There are also branch schools that you can look at, like UT and A&M have several branch schools. A lot of students will start at those branch schools and work toward a specific GPA, and then they could automatically go into the college of their choice. Blinn is a great example of a branch school. It's also a two-year community college. We have several students who will start at Blinn and then transfer into A&M. They kind of have they're a partner school, so they know exactly what you would need in order to get into those campuses. If you are interested in a trade school, this fall we will be taking a field trip to a few trade schools. We would encourage you to scan the QR code below. We do know that trades are going to be booming in the next few years. There's going to be a high amount of people who are retiring, so there will be a high need. Some of these jobs are very high paying. The training is much less than going to college, and you can make a significant amount of money coming out of trade schools. And some trade schools will actually, if you don't get placed in a job, they will pay your tuition at those trade schools for you. Okay, so what do you need to do now? So in the fall, we want you to visit any of those lingering colleges that you're waiting to visit. Watch your deadlines. Every school is going to have different deadlines, so just make sure you watch those scholarship deadlines. We always say apply to about 3 to 5 schools. It's a good rule of thumb. And apply by Thanksgiving. We say apply before you have pie. And then if you're wondering like where to apply, we always suggest doing maybe one reach school and having a reality school, and then maybe having a safety net school. So we want you to make sure all of those are covered. And then what do I do in the spring? So in the spring, so after you apply in the spring, you'll begin getting letters back from colleges. And then you'll want to also be looking for scholarships. So after you apply, you want to really start looking for and applying for those scholarships. And then you'll look at all the pieces together, and then you'll notify your school by May 1st. We don't recommend that you wait that long. If you absolutely have to, you can, but it is nice to go ahead and get that done, and so you can kind of start working towards the next steps in that college process. So one of the biggest things we like to remind you of is that while we want parents to be supporting their students through this process, it's also your child going to college. So we want your student to be in the driver's seat. So while you're still being a support for them, we don't want you doing the applications for them, or you writing the essays, or you calling the admissions office. We want to make sure that they are the ones making the impression to the university. And one of the things that it does is it builds confidence. It's going to make them more resilient. They're going to be more capable and prepared. So just keep that in mind as you're going through this process. We want them to take those initiatives to apply for scholarships. So just remember, you're still in the car, but as a support. And one of the biggest things, students, that we want you to remember is that although there are lots of schools out there with all the gold stars, what you really need to do is remember that the school that's right for you might not be the school that's right for the person next to you. What you really want to do is make sure that a school that you're going to, a college or a plan, is a good fit for you socially, financially, and academically. So we want to make sure all three of those pieces of the puzzle fit together. And when those fit together, then that gives you a more clear picture of what your plan should be. We hope that you will reach out to us throughout the year. We are here to help you go through this process. Please reach out to your counselor at any time. Take advantage of those application workshops. We will be holding some FAFSA nights in the near future for you to come and work on those FAFSAs if you need to. We will also link on our website below this presentation the TCU Financial Aid Office presentation that they presented on the Senior Summit night. We would also encourage you to take a look at that presentation